address those issues as quickly as possible. We also have concerns about, in terms of helping our public stay safe and helping in response to the events in Boston. Before we go on, I would like to give you the statement that the Board of Selectmen released about the tragic events that occurred. The Board of Selectmen is horrified by the loss of life and injuries from explosions at the Boston Marathon. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those who were killed, to the injured and their families, to all those who have been traumatized by this event, and to the medical, emergency, and public safety personnel who are involved in the emergency response. We hope whomever is responsible for this outrage will be identified. We feel so fortunate that Lexington was able to celebrate our Patriots' Day without incident. On our 300th anniversary, we take note of our pride and patriotism to be citizens of Lexington, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the United States. And I would like to observe a moment of silence for the victims and those suffering from yesterday's events. Thank you. I think we're all horrified and reeling from what happened in Boston yesterday. And as events are unfolding in real time, we do have law enforcement personnel to help us here and brief us. What became somewhat clear to us in this confusing issue of events is that there seems to be possibly some connection with the actual Patriots' Day holiday itself and whatever message was trying to be delivered to us here in Boston. We don't know if that's the case, but we don't know if that's not the case. We have concerns about the date of Patriots' Day, which is April 19th, where we have a permitted activity on our green. We're also concerned about what seems to be the symbolic representations of around Patriots' Day, the Boston Marathon. We have the Battle Green, Tower Park, significant events in our history that we all celebrate that seem to be possibly involved in some form of message that was delivered to us. And we're concerned about that and what that means with public safety. I'm sure that will become clear over time, but as of now, we in Lexington and the rest of the country don't know if there is a connection between the Patriots' Day itself, what happened in Boston, between these serious and historical and significant locations involved in Patriots' Day. That has raised our level of concern. The Board of Selectmen is interested and obligated to be responsible to the members of our community to do what we can to ensure public safety. That is why we're calling the meeting. But we also wanted to call the meeting in a timely fashion and not under open meeting law with 48 hours, because we do want to address these issues of public concern and safety, but we also want to give courtesy to our permit holder who has been planning this event and has lots of logistics to worry about. We thought it would be courteous to help give as much notice as we can in case we were to take any action. We also want our public safety people to have the capacity to man and plan their staffing. As you may know, we have an agreement to provide public safety personnel to the City of Boston as they're helping with this crime scene and dealing with the aftermath of this issue. We would like to do our part to help Boston figure out what happened by being able to send our public safety personnel down to Boston to help in any way possible. Chief Corr can brief us on that as well. So we had to balance the need to inform our community about this meeting, as well as being courteous to our permit holder and to help our public safety personnel. We decided to have an emergency meeting on that behalf. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we're going to structure the meeting. I'm going to ask our police chief, Mark Corr, to give us an update on security issues. I'm going to have a discussion by the Board of Selectmen. I'm going to ask our permit holder group to choose one spokesperson to come up and discuss with us their issues, so if they can decide which spokesperson, that would be terrific. I am not going to allow extensive public comment tonight. The reason I'm not allowing it tonight is because the focus of this meeting is discussion of public safety issues, which we will all have opinions on, but because I did not have the time to give a 48-hour notice, it's not fair to the community who did not have the time to come to this meeting if they were so informed. We will have subsequent meetings where we will have time for public comment, and of course, one can always contact the Board of Selectmen. There's been extensive public comment on our community lists and in community conversations, and those will continue. So I just want to let you know we're not trying to restrict conversation around the community. We're trying to focus this meeting tonight in a way that complies with the open meeting law and is fair. That being said, I'm going to ask Chief Corr to come up and give us a briefing on the security issues and some of the concerns for our community. Chief Corr.
Thank you to the board. Got a little closer so everybody can hear me. Obviously, when this appeared yesterday, it was troubling to our staff. I'm accompanied by Captain Manny Farrow, Captain Joseph O'Leary, and Chief William Wilson is also here. In some ways, we asked ourselves whether we dodged a bullet. Our parade was held on Sunday. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, our parade would have just been arriving in the center in full force. And if somebody wanted to make a statement, we could have been a target. We grieve for those who lost. We wish the very best for those who were injured. This morning when Manny came in the door and told me that a family friend suffered the loss of limbs yesterday, we realized as this strikes very close to home. These images on the front page should move everyone, that this is no small matter. And you've asked us to review today the public safety need. We've reached out to different sources. It's not necessarily relying solely on what we know here. We reached out to the state police, the FBI, some of our neighboring departments, an organization called NEMLEC, the Northeast Municipal Law Enforcement Council, is Middlesex and Essex County Police Departments. There are 54 communities, which Lexington contributes a number of our officers to that organization. I guess I would approach this on two levels. One is the significance of Lexington. April 19th is the anniversary of the Waco, Texas incident. It's also the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. Patriots Day, Lexington, the Minuteman statue is significant to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. The overwhelming majority are good reasons, but it does represent to a small group of Americans how to stand up to government and how to fight back. It is very possible that that was a message that was being sent in Boston. I don't want to supersede all the hard work that's going on right now by the federal authorities, the state authorities, Boston, and everything they're trying to do and trying to figure out in Boston. In many ways, they don't have a lot of answers. What they do know is obviously troubling. Lexington, having not been a victim of that bombing, is not high on their priority list, and yet individuals gave us time to share with us so we can help make a decision here. We did reach out to the FBI. They said that if we were having a parade or some public event on Friday, April 19th, they would absolutely agree with our recommendation that those types of events should be canceled. They don't really want to put a name or an organization title or something on that. They are very busy dealing with Boston, but they recognized that April 19th is a signature date, and given what had just happened in Boston, going forward with something on Friday was probably a very bad choice. I would tend to agree with that. That being said, if you chose to allow something to go forward on Friday, I would have to review my own resources. Typically when there's an event, particularly an event that might have counter demonstrations, they might have individuals that are drawn, I call them third-party groups that are attracted to a potential conflict. Usually we can reach out to the different intelligence sources and we get a sense of who might be coming and what the threat might be. Those intelligence sources are now overwhelmed by what's going on in Boston, and getting up the little tidbits of information that might say Lexington is not as available as it was on Friday. Those forces and all those man hours are being invested into what has happened in Boston and solving that. So in some ways, we're now flying blind. I reached out to NEMLEC. I did not get a call back. The overwhelming majority of the NEMLEC forces are being deployed to Boston. We have 3 officers that we have deployed, a dispatcher. We also have a motor unit that could be deployed if need be. NEMLEC is doing their best to try to supplement Boston's forces. So 54 cities and towns in the Boston area, or correction, Middlesex and Essex, are already committed forces to Boston. I would tell you that our neighbors are also probably answering a lot of suspicious person calls and suspicious package calls, and probably have stepped up their own staffing, which would make their resources less available to share. I reached out to the state police and received a return call from a lieutenant colonel who affirmed for me that the state police resources are essentially exhausted. They will do what they can, but they are straight out in Boston. Resources such like bomb dogs and such are being used every hour of every day. They're rotating huge members of their staff through Boston, and they are taxed. And I guess the reason why I'm sharing this is if I was asked to staff something on April 19th, I am usually comfortable doing that knowing that I have a safety net. That safety net being a simple phone call to NEMLEC and having over 100 police officers arrive within 15 minutes. The safety net being the Massachusetts State Police, where a simple phone call could give me any number of resources, from officers to a bomb dog or other resources, to be here in a very short period of time should something get out of hand. I believe the organizers have been very cooperative with Manny Farrell and planning their event. There are town groups that have been very cooperative in sharing what they want to do, how they want to do it. But there is inevitably that third party that we don't know. Somebody who takes advantage of these things going on and tries to come to the scene. I don't know what they are about. I don't know whether this event yesterday is going to motivate them to do more or do less. I come back to flying blind by not having the intelligence that we might typically receive. I come back to I don't have the safety net that is typically there because so many other organizations and our neighbors, NEMLEC and the state police, are so heavily committed to helping Boston get through such a tragic event. I would recommend that the town of Lexington, for at least 10 to 14 days, try to avoid placing something at the Lexington Battle Green, which is such a signature location, not only for Lexington, but to Massachusetts and to the United States. There's too many unknowns. There are questions I simply can't answer. But if for no other reason than to give time for those involved in the tragic events to sort out what's going on and what the impacts are, not only to Boston, but to the immediate vicinity, to Massachusetts, even to the United States, just to give them time to sort it out, I think is a very wise choice.
Thank you, Chief Corr. I appreciate that. Gentlemen, any comments or questions for the Chief while he is here? No, but we very much appreciate what you're doing. I would also like to take this moment, as we all do, to thank all the public service employees, volunteers who so heroically helped in Boston and continue to help, medical professionals who have just given us a lot of faith and confidence in saving people's lives as they work diligently now down in the city. I think what we're going to do next as a board is respond to and deliberate about Chief Corr's comments and our views about what to do about activities on the Battle Green. Do we need a break, as Chief Corr was discussing, just so we can understand the situation? If so, how we're thinking about that. And then I'm going to ask our permit holders to come up to talk about that with us. So I'd like to open it up to the board response. Chief Corr mentioned a 10 to 14 day period where perhaps we have no permitted activities. Any thoughts, gentlemen? Who would like to dive in? Anyone on the board willing to Mr. Kelly?
Being witness to so many significant events which have been hosted as celebrations or protests and things over the years in Lexington, using the Battle Green as a symbol for people's opportunity to express a point of view on one issue or another. I think we've been able to manage it quite comfortably and let everybody have an opportunity to express themselves under the rules of the Constitution. And I'm sure it's going to continue. The situation that we have in front of us, which is such a shock to us all, and as Chief Corr has said, and our chairman has said, too much of the unknown is something we have to come to terms with. And only time will tell us what may or may not be in the minds of those that had the malice to do what they did in Boston yesterday. I can't in any way see us hurting, the history and the commitment this community makes to allow people to gather, speak their thoughts and their minds on the Battle Green at any time under the rules that we have, which are, I think, quite fair and appropriate. This situation is something that we really have to let time pass before we feel the unknowns are at least covered. And certainly the situation is outlined with the degree of overtaxed resources for public safety issues has to be respected and understood by everyone. So I, for one, have to completely agree with Chief Corr in the suggestions that we step back from any added opportunities for public safety risks. And April 19th is April 19th. It's a date that certainly has significance to myself, this community, and many other people. And to the extent that it's all good and valuable for the opportunity to focus on that date for what it means to this country and to the people of the country, I want to continue forever. But that doesn't mean we don't have to have responsible protections and responsible consideration for the times we live in right now. So I support a motion, if it comes forward, to step back, hold back on activities on the Battle Green, and I think it's Tower Park was our other concern, for what might be a recommended time. It might be a week, it might be 10 days, it might be 2 weeks, I don't know. But at this point, I think it makes sense to at least get past a week over this upcoming weekend and maybe reconsider the situation with more input at our meeting on 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Mance?
Yeah, I think the significance of April 19th and the Battle Green and the attempt to tie both the date and the location to many causes should give us some pause. I reflect on the fact that the iconic Minuteman statue is used by many websites and many causes, and so the significance has always been there. I think Chief Corr's argument that a timeout is needed to allow Boston-based public safety entities to concentrate on the events of yesterday, and I think that some period of time is needed. We all know that the first reports are often wrong, and I think we need to step back just a bit, give the responsible authorities a chance to see what really happened and give them the space to do their job. And so I too would support a period yet to be discussed by this board.
Thank you, Mr. Mans. Before I turn to the rest of my colleagues, I failed to notify you that we are being broadcast live by our local cable access, Lex Media, and it will be taped for subsequent broadcast. Mr. Cohen?
Well, I agree with my colleagues and what they've said. Look at the events in Boston that have been canceled this week. Big sports events, Bruins games, basketball, Celtics games. I think that we really should. I think it was Hank that said, or he had to step back a bit. I'm not quite sure about the time. I think that we probably should think about a couple of weeks, actually, to have this all settled down.
Thank you, Mr. Cohn. Mr. Pato.
So I, too, am compelled by Chief Corr's description of the commitment of first responders in the area and the lack of being able to rely on them in the next few days to several weeks. So independent of any association with a date, I would be inclined to suspend any use of our Battle Green when we would expect to have a gathering of individuals that could lead to third parties coming into the community. So if we couple that in addition with a date that could easily be linked to other kinds of events, I'm very concerned and supportive of a moratorium.
Thank you, Mr. Pato. I find myself struggling, as we all are, with not wanting terrorist acts to prevail and to impinge on our freedoms that we all cherish. At the same time, we all cherish our freedoms but expect a high degree of public safety from our municipal employees and from our elected officials. So that is the conundrum we're under. We don't want fear to overrule us, but we want to be wise in terms of providing safety to the people who live and visit Lexington, and we feel obligated to provide that. So I, too, am concerned about the upcoming weeks until we have more information, especially having our public safety personnel be available to us and have regional personnel be available to us, just in the case something were to happen at any time in these next few weeks. Saying that, we do have a group that has been working hard to put on an event and has been would be impinged if we were to suspend activity for a period. And I'd like to invite a spokesman from the permit group to come on up. If one of you could come up, that would be great, and you could introduce yourself and let us know your thinking as we're going forward. Sir. And these mics, you kind of have to get right on them when you're talking to them.
My name is Steve Redfern from Billerica, Massachusetts. I want to start off by saying I am deeply saddened by the events in Boston yesterday. As many here possibly, I was directly affected. 2 of my friends from Stoneham lost limbs that day. Very sad, young kids with their whole lives ahead of them. And it's a very tragic event that couldn't have been predicted or even possibly prevented. Obviously not prevented because it happened. I am deeply saddened by this, but big issue I have with all these events going on or being canceled is that by canceling these events because we're afraid, pretty much sending a message to whoever did this that they won. They have victory over us because we're showing our fear. We're canceling things because we're afraid they're going to do it again. I think it's important for people in this country, especially in Lexington because of the significance of the city, to stand your ground. Don't let them be victorious. We can take some precautions to make sure it's not going to happen again. And I think Lexington is going to be a safe town for this event. I don't really see an issue arising. They got their message across. Although there is no suspects as of now, the suspect they had is now just a witness. It's very implausible for it to happen again. Lexington's wide open. The Battle Green is wide open. It's not some place I see someone easily being able to sneak in before an event and hide any type of destructive devices. Manny Ferro's been very cooperative with me in discussing safety regulations before this even happened. We had a small game plan how to prevent anything from happening. I've discussed concerns with a couple of off people per se showing up at the rally. I brought it up to him because I want nothing but a safe event. My ultimate goal is a safe event, but I think we're sending the wrong message by backing down from this. I don't want to buckle my knees in the face of terror. I don't want to tell them they're victorious. I'm not afraid. On April 19th, I will stand on that ground, despite any possibility of something happening. I'm not afraid of it. You had mentioned how some sport events have been canceled, which I agree with. They got canceled today or last night because of the events, but they are continuing. They're moving forward already. In Boston, in the heart of where this happened. And I agree, the night of the events, it should have been canceled. Things needed to be gathered, figured out, streets needed to be cleared, and safety needed to be reinforced. But Boston, the city that's affected by this, has already moved past it. And by dwelling on this in the city of Lexington days after is once again sending the wrong message, and we're giving this person the attention they want. We're giving them the victory they search for. Another thing, aside from financial issues, canceling this event right now, aside from being refunded by the city for what I have cut checks for, I'll be losing $7,000 out of my own pocket. Might not seem like a huge amount of money to everyone, but it is to me because it's coming directly out of my pocket. I'm flying my speakers out from various parts of the country, booking their hotels, and it's not something that can be rescheduled. I've tried, after speaking with Manny yesterday, to contact airlines to reschedule or postpone the flights. They said they'd issue me a refund if they canceled the flights themselves. Nothing based on my cancellations or postponing it. I wouldn't be refunded, wouldn't be reimbursed, I would not get a credit. So that's money that cannot be replaced as of right now. I understand everyone's concern and why they want to postpone or cancel the event, but I think we are sending a wrong message. Public safety aside, I mean, it's a great thing that we can stand behind and all agree on, but we keep letting these people be victorious. They're going to keep doing it. We have to let them know we're American. We don't stand down. Those colors don't run, and we shouldn't run from this now.
So, thank you, Mr. Redfern. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing two things from you, which I appreciate and understand. And one is the issue of freedom and the philosophical response to this event, and I hear you loud and clear. I'm also hearing that there is a significant economic impact on you, even just in a suspension, that it will be difficult for you to reschedule because of the economic issues.
Absolutely.
And you have been in contact with the airlines, because I've been hearing some things today about there being more, it's the airlines, so there being more.
That's why I called them today. I spoke with Manny about it, and I called them again, and they said they would refund me if they canceled or delayed the flight. But that's on their call, not mine.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Which is unfortunate.
Do you think there would be any advantage to you, for example, if we were to move to suspend, if you were to receive a notice from us that you could provide them to show them that it wasn't your call? Would that help in any way if that were to come to pass?
That's not for me to say. That's up to the airlines. I can't make any judgment call on that.
Right, right. Gentlemen, any response to Mr. Redfern's concerns and his observations?
One other issue I'd like to bring up is time.
Sir? Yes.
As of right now, yesterday, as we speak, tomorrow, Senate's discussing House Bill S-649 to strip us of our rights. And that's why this message has to be sent in a timely fashion. I can't wait 10 days after they voted this in. Once they voted in, it's a whole other battle. And I want to prevent that secondary battle.
I understand. Any other comments from members of the board in terms of Mr. Redfern's response? I appreciate your candor. And thank you. That's very helpful.
One last thing I want to bring up, an old quote. Those who sacrifice liberty for temporary safety deserve neither. And I don't think that we should be doing this in Lexington.
Thank you. So I've now heard the board indicate a sense of concern in balancing the issues that Mr. Redfern articulately brought up. For public safety, I heard all of us say that we're interested in understanding and learning more and having our public safety personnel be available. We had some sense of timing. If we were to suspend any permitted activity on the Battle Green and Tower Park, what's your sense of timing? 2 weeks? 14 days? 14 days would put us, I'm sorry, I looked at the calendar. The 14th day would be May 5th. 20 days would be 6 days thereafter. May 3rd to May 5th, somewhere in there. What, gentlemen, what do you think? 14 days? Chief said 10 to 14 days. Mr. Cohen said more. Any sense? And we can always reconsider. At some point, we can always call another meeting to reconsider if more information becomes available. Mr. Mans.
I think that a minimum of 14 days, that carries us slightly beyond our next meeting, and it gives us a chance to reconsider, as you suggest. I'd be willing to listen for longer or shorter periods.
Comments? Mr. Pato?
I'd be willing to hear even a longer period. I think that I would like there to be a a clear movement in our understanding of the situation in the near vicinity in Boston and the region. And I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to give other permit holders. I hear the hardship that the current permit holder has, Mr. Redfern, with respect to financing any activity. And I want to make sure that we have a clear and long enough period of time that any other potential user of the Battle Green is aware of this, can plan around that. I wish this didn't happen and that Mr. Redfern isn't faced with the financial hardship, but I think that's unavoidable at the moment.
I miscounted. The 14th day would be May 1st. That would be the 14th day. Someone can look at their calendar since we know that I'm challenged on these sort of things. But I hear you, Mr. Pato. And Mr. Kelly, Mr. Cohen, any thoughts? Mr. Kelly.
I see the date of the 19th to be one of the most significant issues that we're dealing with, and the fact that it's coming up in 3 days, and that there's much uncertainty about the demand on public safety personnel, not just in our own department, but what might be called upon beyond our own department, which is just not, at this point, judged when it could be available to help out. We have a scheduled meeting for the 22nd. We do not plan to be meeting on the 29th. I would suggest that we put the moratorium in place to the 22nd, up to the 22nd meeting, with a reconsideration at that time as to whether it should be lifted or extended, because it ties it back into a already scheduled meeting. It gets us past the critical first week after the horrible events in Boston, and lets us look at it with a different perspective than we can possibly look at it now.
You're talking about April 22nd?
So, April 22nd is a week from Monday.
It's next Monday.
But we're scheduled to meet
And,
at 6 o'clock.
And we have town meeting that night.
I understand that, but that's just my feeling. I don't think we should put a moratorium on beyond Monday, when we have a scheduled meeting to reconsider and get some more input as to how circumstances are playing out with the public safety people.
Mr. Mann?
People complain it takes too long to do things in government. Putting everybody under that kind of time crunch, I'm sensitive to Mr. Pato's argument, and actually I'm sensitive to Mr. Pato's argument that putting it on the 22nd means you're under the gun for the 22nd. Almost anything could happen that day. There could be a cancellation. I would suggest putting a longer period in place tonight and then arguing to shorten it at some point. Perhaps the 22nd would be a good time to argue that. I would suggest a minimum of 3 weeks at that point. And the easiest thing is 30 days and argue to shorten it on the 22nd.
Well, we're all over the map. Let me just also point out that we have the freedom to schedule another meeting. My concern about the 22nd is that that is a town meeting night. We have a limited period of time. I did promise tonight to allow for lots of opportunity for public comment, which we will not be able to allow on the 22nd. For those of non-Lexingtonians, we meet at 6:30 or so, but we have to be at our town meeting at 7:30 p.m. It doesn't give you time to really get into an in-depth discussion. I'm leaning towards a 2-week moratorium with revisiting this with a special meeting that we could schedule on the 29th or 30th, and we can discuss that. Gentlemen, are you available on the 29th? I remember we were trying to... How about the 30th, Tuesday the 30th?
I think I'm back.
Tuesday the 30th.
Make 30, the evening of the 30th.
Others, are you available on the evening of the 30th so that we can reconsider the moratorium? And if this criminal case is solved tomorrow and everyone's confident, we can always reschedule a meeting before that with 48 hours notice.
30th is awkward for me, but...
Mr. Cohen?
I think the argument about having it when we have a scheduled meeting, I would like it to be we have a meeting on May 6th, and I would have the, if we do vote the moratorium, I would have it, I guess it shouldn't be on May 6th, because we'd be talking about it to go to May 7th, but on May 6th, when we meet, we have a scheduled meeting, we can discuss it in great detail at that time.
Mr. Pato?
So I also think May 6th is a much better date to have an open meeting and hearing on this topic. I'd be happy to see a 30-day moratorium and revisit it on the 6th, decide if we want to change the date.
We also in May have our own municipal activities like Revolutionary Revelry. We have some charitable parade events too that are occurring when we did a review of our permit holders for both Tower Park and the Battle Green. And they fall under a moratorium period as well. And to be fair, we would apply it to them as well. But I do want to give us a chance to review for the current permit holder and our future permit holders in a timely fashion. How about if we do this? Why don't we settle on the period and then get back to the date of reconsideration, which we can always change, but it would be nice to notify the public. I'm hearing 30 days. I'm hearing less. My view is a 14-day period. Gentlemen. Mr. Kelly, moratorium for 14 days with reconsideration.
But reconsideration would not take place before May 6th, and that...
No, I would try to get a meeting before May 6th.
Oh, you would?
Yes, I would.
All right.
I
Well,
think May 6th is too late.
I would support the 14 days with a scheduled meeting whenever it can work out.
Great. Any other thoughts on this? I'm going to make a motion to suspend any permits issued for the period of April 17th through May 1st for use of the Battle Green, its surrounding public spaces, and Tower Park. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. The motion was to suspend any permits issued for the period of April 17th through May 1st for use of the Battle Green, its surrounding public spaces, and Tower Park. I would also like to make a motion that we will write a letter on behalf of Mr. Redfern that he can at least apply to the airlines to help him in his plea for some relief in terms of to say that we made this decision and that we have put him in this situation, that we'll craft a letter. We'll work with Mr. Redfern on that. So I'll make a motion that we supply Mr. Redfern, the permit holder, with a letter saying that it is our action that is causing him to need to reschedule his flights. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous, and we will work with you on that. Now let's move to place a moratorium on new permits for the use of the Battle Green, its surrounding public spaces. So my motion is to move to place a moratorium on new permits for the use of the Battle Green, its surrounding public spaces, in Tower Park for the period of April 17th through May 1st, subject to further extension or rescission when the Selectmen have further information from public safety authorities on the town's ability to provide for the public safety. Would anyone care to second that motion? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Well, so we have the challenge now of figuring out when we will meet to reconsider. We can do it now, or we can do it and announce it later. Any thoughts?
You anticipate having a broader community discussion on the moratorium that would obviously be in place at that time and extending it or in some way limiting or restricting future permits. So it would be a meeting for
The continuation of the continuation or suspension of the moratorium.
It would open it up for, a time certain.
I want to give
get the public into SOC.
give an opportunity for the public to come and attend and comment.
Any time from April 30th on is fine with me.
Mr. Pato?
So is the goal to have this before the end of the moratorium, or?
Yes, it is.
So it would be the week of April 22nd, I expect. So I would like to avoid the 2 nights that are currently allocated to town meeting, even though it's unlikely we'll use Wednesday. So suggest either Tuesday the 23rd or Thursday the 25th?
I will be gone Thursday the 25th. I will be here on that Tuesday the 23rd.
I can't do that.
How's Friday the 26th?
I am out of town on Friday the 26th.
And you're back when?
Sunday night the 28th.
I leave the 25th and back the 30th.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to continue this discussion now. I think it's too complicated with the schedules. I'll have our executive clerk put out information to try to, we'll do a doodle poll or whatever, to get us to understand when we're available. We will announce it to the public about when our next meeting is, so that you all have the opportunity to know when you can attend, and we'll also create an agenda for that meeting. That being said, I appreciate the discussion. I'm going to move to our next agenda item, which is to approve lowering the battle green flag for victims of the marathon. The governor has asked for the lowering of flags. He has not, at this point, I think, indicated when he would raise those flags, but we think we would like to observe in honor of the victims of the marathon violence. I'll entertain a motion to keep the battle green flag lowered for the victims of the marathon violence until further notice. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. That being said, there is no further business before us at this emergency meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. We are adjourned at 6:40. Thank you very much for attending. Mr. Redfern, we will work with you in terms of that letter.